Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
So, as we are leading up towards the commemoration of Tisha B'Av and the destruction of the first and the second temple, the fall of Beitar, and many other catastrophes throughout our history, Wikipedia has a whole page of them, it has given me the opportunity to talk about the problems. After all, this is the time of year when we read from the Haftarot of admonition, when they are, chewing us out, criticizing the behavior of our ancestors, but of course, behaviors we ourselves must be aware of too. And so last week I was able to dip our toe into the concept of Achav, the king of northern Israel, who is generally considered to be the worst king of the north, which means fair is fair. We have to talk about the worst king of the south for tonight. And the worst king of the south, well, it's a little bit of an argument, but oftentimes it is Menashe. Menashe is considered to be at least among, if not the worst kings of the southern kingdom of Judah. Now, what did he do that was so bad? Well, first of all, he was real big on that whole idolatry thing. Much like Achav in the north, Menashe, who lived with Jerusalem there in his kingdom and with the temple there, thought that wasn't good enough and filled it with idols and had different altars placed all over the kingdom and supported and in fact encouraged the polytheistic worship throughout. And that wasn't just a matter of bowing down to an idol. It meant such things as child sacrifices, including his own. Not a nice guy. And just in case you thought his transgressions were primarily of ritual religious, no, he also was incredibly corrupt and violent and promoted such behavior in his kingdom, such that it was said that Jerusalem was filled with blood from one end to the other. This was a very, very dark time for our people. But on the bright side, he eventually dies. Okay, well that's the bright side in the book of Kings. But if you go into Divrei Hayamim, the book of Chronicles, which is found at the back of the Tanakh, you will find a recounting of the annals of the kings, and it's mostly the same, but there are a few tweaks to the story, a few additions or sometimes omissions between the two sets. So if you ever want to have a really fun evening, it is fun, trust me, put Book of Kings in one column on your computer screen, put Divrei Hayamim, Chronicles on the other, and track through and see what the differences are, and then look at the commentary or into your own reflection of why you think those differences might be there. But here is the key difference that is found in the story of Menashe. According to the book of Chronicles, he repents. He does Teshuva before he dies. He turns back to God before he dies. Why? Say the commentators. There's no explanation of what possibly really made him do this. And so, of course, when there is a text that is surprising or confusing, Midrash steps in to explain. And the Midrash gives the following story that you are not necessarily going to have to take literally. Indeed, it seems to be cribbing from other Greek myths, but perhaps you will find in it something that our ancestors were trying to teach us through this story of Menashe's return. It is said that Menashe is captured by the Babylonians. They didn't only attack us in 586, they in fact had conquered the area, had taken it under their wing long before that, and Menashe got a little stroppy, and so they hold him off. They release him, and that's when he returns to God. Well, they say something must have happened during this captivity, when he was tied up by the Babylonians, so to speak. So they imagine the following scenario, that as he had been taken away, the Babylonians decide they're going to do him in. So what do? They get a nice big bronze donkey, big enough that you can put a person inside. And they shove the king inside and they light a fire underneath. Because as bad as our kings were, the Babylonians were worse. So we can take some pride in that. And as the fire begins to warm up, Menashe is worried, of course, that he's about to be roasted alive. And so he starts praying to his whole list of idols, all of the polytheistic gods that he has been worshiping over his life. He is begging and praying and hoping that they will come to his aid. And of course, crickets. Only the sound of the crackling flames. So, says the Midrash, some small corner of his mind says, there was Adonai, that my dad had taught me about, I'll give it a try. I mean, what? What's the worst that can happen? I'm going to die? I'm going to die anyway. I might as well pray to God, to Adonai, and see what happens. So the Midrash imagines the prayers of Menashe are heading up towards heaven. And as they approach heaven, the angels are like, no way, dude. We are not allowing this. You have murdered. You have defiled. You are... No. And they lock the doors. And they turn to God and say, God, you cannot allow the prayers of this wretch to come up because he has been so evil. And God digs a tunnel under his throne, outside the gates, to allow a passage for the prayers of Menashe to enter. And he saves him. And Menashe goes home, and he becomes, well, better-ish. We'll come back to that in just a second. And the angels are like, God, what are you doing? I mean, of all the people on earth, of all of the Jewish people, his prayer you're going to answer? And God said, look, if I keep the door shut to him, then anyone else who is in need of return, anybody else in need of Teshuva, they will imagine the door is shut for them too. Because how will they know where the threshold is? You must be this bad before God stops listening to you, right? Or this bad, or this bad. How bad do I need to be before God? If God has a threshold beyond which I have no hope, well, most of us, when we transgress, will imagine that we've already passed that threshold, that the doors are locked and we've got no hope. So I must keep the door open even for him in order to ensure that the door is open for all and that everybody feels it is open for them. Because after all, if Menashe can be heard by God, then the rest of us can be heard by God, no matter how bad we think our own mistakes have been. So through Menashe, God is able to help many more millions of people without having to worry that he is sacrificing justice for Menashe. But what about that justice? Because I know for many of us, we are less concerned about the state of our own soul, and we are more concerned about the vengeance we can wreak against those who have offended us. And Menashe is very offensive. Well, according to our understanding of the text, the rabbis are divided. The sages say, some, that he repented and he was saved, but only saved in this world, meaning that he didn't die in that donkey and that he was returned to the land of Israel and he could live out his life. But he was not saved for Olam Haba, the world to come. And when he died, game over, that was the end of Menashe. But others say no. He was in fact saved fully. That he has a share in the world to come. It may not be at God's right hand. It's not in the best neighborhood, if you will, of the world to come. But that he is able to be there. That he is able to make that extra thing. And they give the same explanation that the Midrash gave for why God dug that tunnel. Who are we to say that this soul is worthy of complete destruction? It may be worthy of punishment in this world. It may be worthy of some form of recompense in the world to come, but of oblivion, of destruction, let alone the fanciful notions of some of eternal damnation. There are no infinite crimes. How can there be infinite punishment, whether it be the infinite punishment of suffering or the infinite punishment of non-existence? And so, yes, Menashe will be there in the world to come, and so will the rest of us, in a much higher standing than he for what he earned. But we will at least be able to learn by his example. One, of course, not to behave like that, not to be such a terrible person, whether we are king or whether we are commoner, but also that when we feel, upon reflection, that our behavior has been unworthy of us and unworthy of the tradition from which we come, that we not imagine the doors closed to us. That if God is able to hold open an option, an opportunity for even Menashe to repent and to find his own place within God's world, and so too the rest of us, who are far more deserving of Menashe, always can count on God's love and God's welcoming embrace. We can continue afterwards, but for now I want to say Shabbat Shalom.